What is going on, everybody? Hopefully you can hear me okay. Hopefully some people will join in the chat. We're going to be going till about 4 a.m., maybe later. Depends on if I get in the zone. It is 3:10 right now. All right, well, we're going to be just doing, I see somebody join. Feel free to type in anything in the chat box. I'm just hanging out, not doing a whole lot. So just going to be painting some shoes on my little clowns and gluing them to their bases, maybe. Maybe doing a little bit of contrast paint on some board game miniatures. Here's one thing for a little color theory tip. So this guy, he's like a green clown, or he's a clown, but he's got kind of a green uniform on, I guess. This is from Rumble Slam. And when you're doing something weird, like, the socks or the bottom of the shoes, like the rubber on his shoes, a little color theory tip, just grab like your darkest version. You can mix whatever color you're using on him with black to make the rubber on the shoe. In this case, I'm using this really dark green from Vallejo Model Air. It basically looks just like a dark gray, but apparently it has some green in it. And then hopefully that just ties it together a little bit with the green in his uniform. It's not going to be noticeable, but the idea is that you just want it to look like it fits, like it's correct on the model. You don't have to overthink it, but it's a good way if you're just, if you were picking out a color for your like leather straps, you could, in this example, go with a green-brown, right? Or you could go in the opposite direction and use the contrast. So the contrast to green, or complementary color anyway, contrasting color, complementary color, is red. So you could do reddish browns, which is why he has red hair and kind of a rosy red cheek situation going on. So, and yeah, that's about what we're doing right now, is just working on some shoes. Things like this are always a little tedious, but they get you, turning on the live stream helps get me doing it. Whereas for the last half an hour, instead of painting these shoes, I was watching YouTube videos, which is the exact opposite of being productive. And wouldn't you know it, I was watching YouTube videos about being productive, which is often the case, right? And these guys are just about done. I got to do some highlights on the hair and just a little bit more on their shoes. And a few of them have little metallic, they all have little metallic steel-toed boots, basically. And some of them have little metallic knee pads. This guy has like a belt buckle. So I think I might be using like some kind of gold color. Right now they're kind of base coated in a dark steel. I think I'm going to actually try Vallejo Color Shift Gold Yellow Burnt Orange, just to see what that does. So I'm going to try that probably over the metallics on these guys. And then I also am going to apply some of that to my Piranha car for Gaslands on his mouth there, his grill, his teeth. So we've been working on him a little bit. If I like the way that looks, I might go ahead and give it a hit on the horn blower statue thing and the doors, the back doors on this car here. Don't know if this light, I think this light behind me is actually making it worse, as if it could be any worse, showing you on this, when I try to show you on the camera here, but I think the light behind me is helping me actually see painting in this position, so I can actually paint a little more accurately on the stream. I know this is a pretty late, weird time, so I don't expect many people to jump in, but the world's in a weird place right now, and a lot of people might not have to go to work tomorrow, so maybe they're up looking around the internet bored, and maybe they'll join in. All right, that's one clown shoes. The rubber sole's done. You see me drinking this big sludge here. It's delicious. I've been doing 2 liters, which is like, that's about a 2 liter container. So I've been doing about a 2 liters of green smoothie every day. Although this one, of course, is not very green. But that's because there are a lot of berries and red cabbage in there. So trying to keep my immune system healthy. And what I do every day on that is basically fill it up with greens. It's like, that one is dandelion greens. So about, a whole bunch of dandelion greens if you buy them from the store. I don't know what that is, maybe half a pound or something. Whatever they, bunch up greens in with the little rubber band around it. The whole thing. There's an orange in there, 2 bananas, mandarin orange, another one. What else? A clove of garlic, a slice of lemon. There's a bunch of frozen berries, some beetroot powder, some hemp protein, water. Sometimes I put oatmeal in there to blend in. I did not on this one. I think that's about it. Can't remember if I did any more greens. The other day, I usually do them in the morning. But when I say morning, I mean just when I wake up. Right now, maybe I'll drink some water when I wake up, but basically the first thing I do is blend up my giant smoothie, and I just kind of drink on it all day. So I'm almost done with that one there. Oh, that one has some grape tomatoes in there too. And it's a really, really easy way to get a whole bunch of raw vegetables and fruit in your diet, which is great for your body and immune system. And it's way, way easier to drink it. It tastes good. The more fruit you add, the better it tastes. If you're not really a vegetable eater, you might take a little more time getting used to it, but just add more fruit until you like it, and then add less fruit over time. But it makes it really, really easy, much easier to drink it than chew through all of that. Like it would, that'd be a huge, huge salad. Plus like 5 pieces of fruit that you'd have to chew through. Whereas if you blend it, it's very simple. Your body absorbs the nutrients better. And that's about it with my green smoothie. I've been doing that every day now for, I think, almost 3 weeks. I'll have to go back and look when I started. And I do 1 or 2 a day. There's been a few days I've done 2, so that's 4 liters of delicious green smoothie. Sometimes I'll throw some protein powder in there just because I have it. Mostly, this one has hemp protein. Sometimes I use pea protein or soy protein. So far, I've liked the results. Like, it's been pretty good. So anyway, if you have any painting questions, obviously leave them in the chat box or also, when you watch this, I'd be curious what everybody's been working on. If you watched any of the other ones I've mentioned before, I've been trying to finish up basically any half-finished project I have on my desk. That's been giving me, you get kind of that sense of reward when you finish something that's been sitting there for a while, obviously. These little wrestler guys, they would have been done if Adepticon wasn't canceled, because I was playing these guys at Adepticon. So I would have finished them, but since Adepticon got canceled, they just got pushed to the side. And they were really so close to being done. It made sense that I should, even though Adepticon's now a year away, did not make sense to push these 75% finished models to the, the bookshelf for the next year without finishing them first. So that's where we're at with that. Hopefully everybody's still been safe during all this. There is one downside of trying to consume a lot of fresh produce every day, and that is I have to go to the store at least once a week to keep getting produce, like especially leafy greens, spinach, kale, dandelion, chard, mustard greens, all of that. You have to keep going to the store, and that's, in this time, maybe not the safest place to be, really. You got to be hyper aware if you hear anybody sneezing or coughing at the store, because you might actually want to leave if that's the case. And I'll wear a mask when I go, but that is, I can only do so much. And my mask is actually my airbrush mask. So I kind of wish I had a mask to go to the grocery store and then another mask to use when I airbrush, because I'm bringing that mask out into the dirty, dirty virus world. And then I'm bringing it back home to my sanctuary of safety and painting. So I don't know how ideal that is. We slapped some inks on this guy. Let's see if we can get that. Oh, almost. Not really. Anyway, we just roughly slapped in some blues, and then we tried out some transparent orange pro acryl over top, and made this kind of mess of a color here. And now we're going to dry brush Bugman's Glow. And we're going to hopefully tie that all back together. One thing I noticed, I probably didn't clean my, hear that? I don't think I cleaned my Ghost Dry Brush here quite well enough last time I used it, but hopefully it's still going to work perfect. And I'm thinking, when you watch this video, if you want, I can actually I don't know if you've seen, I've done a couple kind of paint videos. And if you want, I could reset up the camera to be face down in front of me, and we could start doing some more like paint videos during the stream. That could be a thing. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna kind of wet brush this because the orange and blue ink didn't quite create any good transitions that I really love. I'm gonna kind of downstroke Bugman's Glow with a kind of a wet brush, and that hopefully kind of ties everything together really nice. Whereas I could slowly build it up dry brushing, but I think just based on the transitions that I got from the 2 washes, I'm actually be more happy covering up a lot of it, or, you know, really working on it quite a bit here. Oh yeah, that's looking good. It looks like scar tissue or something. It's pretty cool. And the dry brush is still working pretty nice, even though it's a little stiff. Because it's a little stiff, it's giving you a little bit of that dry brush quality. And they're really, really soft, actually, when you get them. If you back the Kickstarter or buy them from me on eBay later, they're really soft. And I just did not do an adequate job getting the paint out of it last time I used it. Probably used it on stream, actually. And, you know, sometimes when you're doing this stuff on stream with the camera and chit-chatting, you forget to practice good, you know, hobby practices, I guess. Hobby habits. So yeah, we're just kind of blending this fleshy color in on this character here. He's just a weird monster, which is just a bunch of bodies basically twisted and mutated together. Deep Madness is like a kind of like a dungeon crawl board game, but with that kind of horror kind of feel to it. Apparently Norton Security's doing something on my computer, so that's where that dinging's come from. It's my computer, not yours, don't worry. Yeah, it looks like, so this isn't great. It looks definitely better now, but it's not the perfect buildup of colors I've ever done. That's okay, because it's a board game monster. It doesn't have to be the best thing you ever painted. If everything's the best thing you ever painted, then, well, that's probably don't have a lot of stuff painted, unless you've been doing it a long time, but obviously trying your best takes time. And I've noticed, and I used to try really, really hard on the board game models and spending the extra time. And now I do it a little bit looser because playing the game obviously is the best part. And then we don't often go back and play my group of friends, we don't often go back and play the same board games, like repeat them, right? We have between the 4, 5, 6 of us, we have other games to play and Warhammer and stuff. So after we played through the game and the campaign once, we basically put it aside, and there's so many new games coming out all the time, we don't often go back to it. So what I'm doing is trying to use my best kind of bang for my buck techniques and get them done to a nice standard. And then what I believe I will do is sell the painted board game when we're done playing, which I haven't done yet, but it seems like it could be a fun, or not fun, but a good way to get rid of old board games that you're probably not going to go back and play. A lot of these board games, though, I backed. Oh, it looks like we got another viewer. If you have any questions, join the chat. It looks like a lot of these board games I backed we were playing. I was running a Savage Worlds role-playing game for some friends. I hadn't played any role-playing games in a while, and got some buddies who had only played D&D. And by a while, I mean like 15 years or more. But I ran a game with kind of a cowboy alternate universe kind of game for Savage Worlds. And then I was getting all these board games like Deep Madness and the others and Rise of Cthulhu. And then that way I would have had a whole bunch of kind of monster and Cthulhu type models to run a cool kind of horror detective-y style board game. But we haven't got to that yet. Maybe one day. Actually, I do have some friends that have asked me to run another role-playing game, so I guess they liked how I ran it. Looks like we lost our extra viewer. All right, we're going to spend a little extra time giving this dry brush a scrubbing using the old Masters brush cleaner here. And this brush, with its size, I mean, you can really build up a lather. Okay, this Norton security might have to be turned off forever if it's going to keep beeping at us. Or maybe turned off during the stream. Yeah, I'd be curious. Obviously, this one's not got a whole lot going on in the chat. So if you got any questions when you're watching this on YouTube, if you get this far in the video, without the chat, there's really not a whole lot going on. I should have really cleaned out my paintbrush water before I started this, but oh well. We're using a pretty dark liquid here. Now it's soapy though, because we just put the brush soap on the brush. And I'm really rubbing it, trying to clean out any paint residue. So hopefully that'll be nice. And we might keep this one out for a while. All right, and then we're just going to switch to this cheap, beat up, crappy brush. Just a really beat up brush here. And just use it to get a little bit of this Bugman's Glow in a few spots that the dry brush just couldn't reach. So I was using the big one. And I don't want to use the little one because I pretty much covered them with the Bugman's Glow. There's a few spots that are a little too unaffected by it. And we're still leaving him dirty and messy because we want those colors in the shadows. We just don't want the bright blue to show or the bright orange. So any spots that look a little too bright, they'll be painted with some of this Bugman's Glow. And this is super easy. No care in the world. There's no worry about overpainting or nothing. And then I think what we'll do is probably hit him with like a Agrax, maybe. Or maybe I'll try a new one. Or not necessarily a new one, but one I don't use all the time. Maybe we'll hit him with some Army Painters. Soft tone or something. Or I don't know. Obviously, well, somebody's watching. Unless it says one person's watching. And that's just me. Maybe it's just saying I'm watching. I don't know. Nobody's in the chat. All right, we're going to do some stabbing. So we're going to get a beat up brush. And I think, ooh, I like this beat up brush. Look at this one. This is a Michaels brush. Nice. Look at that quality. Holding up really good. I love this brush maybe 5 years ago or whatever, because it had a little kind of fat handle and it was real short. But it started curling, as you might be familiar with when using your Michaels brushes. Or if you have maybe bad brush habits, you might accidentally curl your own brushes. And the stabbing we're going to test it out on this Piranha car. So this is Vallejo, the color shifting eccentric colors, gold, yellow, burnt orange. And I'm actually going to kind of stipple it on and not do like thin controlled layers, but more of a textured stippling kind of effect. And that's just because I want it to look weird. Ooh, that's gold. That's pretty shiny gold. All right, that might look kind of cool. Yeah, it's fine. All right. I know that's kind of cool. Got kind of a real green effect going. So that's cool. We'll try that. We need a better actual slightly pointier brush here. So I'm going to switch to my old beat up Ghost brush. This brush isn't as old as the Michaels one, but you can tell it's been through a lot because these start out pure white. This is one of the original tests. Oh no, this is one of the originals. That one has the label. But you can tell I've used this a lot, and look at how much that held up. Very nice. Very, very nice. Super happy with them. We're going to use a little bit of this gold to try to get some interest on these clowns metallics here. And we're going to be I guess I could say loose. What I'm doing is I'm not base coating them. They're base coated a steel color. I'm not base coating them again with this gold color. I'm not even covering all the steel. What I'm doing is just adding interest, that it's like this steel color with this gold sheen. And when you look at it, you're just going to have that kind of moment of like, what happened here? If that makes sense, right? So you look at it, you don't see just a steel color. You're going to see a steel with this kind of green yellow reflection coming off it. And that's hopefully going to give you enough interest that you want to continue to look at the model. And then hopefully you vote for them for best painted at the local event that I bring them to, which will probably be Adepticon 2021. I don't think they had Rumble Slam at Adepticon 2019, so I was excited to, because that's when I bought most of my stuff for Rumble Slam. I thought the model were pretty cool. Played a little demo, and so I was kind of excited this year that there was actually an event that I signed up for. I hadn't played it since the year before at the demo. Me and my buddy were working on our teams and going to start learning the rules a bit. And then, obviously, Adepticon was canceled. So hopefully maybe me and my buddy will still get some games in. I don't know if he's still working on his team, but he was farther along than I was, I think. But now I'm almost done. So if you're watching, David, finish painting your Rumble Slam. So this is kind of cool. I think I like this effect. It's just this weird, like, color shift, green, yellow over top of the steel color. And there's just some weirdness going on. And that weirdness is what makes you, get some kind of striking effects with not as much effort as maybe blending and layering, which are good too, of course. But I like how this has it's kind of a green yellow color shift. And it's pretty cool because they're such a bright green uniform that I actually highlighted it with a bit of yellow and a really like lime toxic yellow green. So this kind of green yellow metallic effect is almost making them match monochromatically with their leotards. Hey, looks like somebody joined the chat. If you have any questions, let me know. Right now I'm working on some Rumble Slam. They kind of actually have the effect of like little leprechauns. Or like, I don't know, they look a little leprechaun-y. This one might be a cool, hey, what's going on? This is my little tiny beard coming back in. It's Moss Sulfur. What are you working on tonight? Yeah, we got kind of a cool little effect. I'll have pictures up of these when they're all done on my Instagram. You working on anything over there tonight, Messel? So with these guys here, it looks like I just basically have to do their face mask still. Maybe pick out their shoelaces. I'll probably do that. Or they almost look like Velcro straps on their boots, but The face masks are important. And then the big clown's got the red hair, and I think that's about it. They're done. Once I finish these shoes, though, I'll glue them to their base. Stuck at home working. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been trying to clear off all my work in progress kind of stuff. And then I got these 10 Dire Avengers I'm going to finish up. Got 3 Warwalkers I'm probably going to do. I already got a unit of Swooping Hawks primed up. I do want to start spending some time on my Eldar, but I'm trying to finish up some of these half-finished projects I got going. Maybe do a Farseer. I don't know, doing like these Gasland cars and stuff. So, well, that's kind of a cool effect on that. I wonder if we can. Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool. Let's try a dry brush. Are you at work right now? Oh, you're working from home, so I guess technically you could be. I'm gonna dry brush. Oh. I never used these color shift paints really before. So we're going to try a dry brush of it over this kind of burnt gold color. This time I'm using the small Ghost dry brush. It's something. It's certainly doing. It's working as a. It's putting that glittery. The color shift paint's very glittery, so. But of course, we're going to use washes and mat it down. What I'm really curious to see is how the color shift, what it does when it's been matte coated. Like, is it going to just not be color shift at all, or is the color shift like locked in place however the pigments are settled when they're matte coated? I don't know. I mean, that's probably not it. I assume the pigments are just reflecting light. One direction yellow, one direction green, maybe. Not sure the science on it. All right, well, whatever. It's interesting. Something happened. Yeah, I've been working from home since March 2019 about. Well, I worked from home quite a bit when I did DirecTV stuff with my family. Used to have to drive around a lot, but a lot of times I had to just sit at home and make calls and stuff. So now I do the paint brushes, which is easy to get distracted or not. I don't know. Like it's easy to all of a sudden you watch 40 minutes of YouTube and you're like, why did I do that? What a waste. There's just so much fun stuff out there. So there was the Ghost dry brush. This one's been used. It's kind of wet right now, obviously. This is one of the test. Yeah, this is a test one I have. I think this is. I don't know. This one has the label on it, so this would be the first wave, maybe. I think. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, this was the finalized testing when I have the labels printed on them. That was the unlabeled one is original test, which I decided to pursue. Busted for not working. Yeah, I've been wanting. I mean, I have so much Eldar. I hope I fall in love with painting them again, like I did back in like 1995 or whenever I first had some Eldar models in second edition. But yeah, I have so many Eldar that I need to either fall in love with them or get rid of all of them because I have just 30 of everything at least. Taking care of brushes. Hold on, let me take a drink of my green slime here. Sometimes I use the Masters brush soap here. Masters brush cleaner and preserver. I try to make sure even though I didn't today, I try to clean my water bin here a little more frequently. Always just make sure you actually rinse them out. And if you're going to take a moment to fiddle around or do something, go ahead and rinse that paint off the brush because one of the killers is letting paint dry in the brush. Obviously, this one's had a lot of paint dry in it because that was white at one point and stained, obviously, but it's still holding a good tip. And what I'm doing is, I'm never leaving it like that. That kills it immediately. You'd never, ever, ever want to leave a brush in the water. It's the worst idea. You're going to swell the wood. The bristles are going to get all mangled. So I'm just swishing like that and then rubbing it on like some napkins or paper towels. And you're rubbing it with like kind of a twisting motion. Try to repoint it a little bit. And if you still see some paint coming off, give it a little swish again and keep doing it. Usually it doesn't take more than once or twice, but man, I usually give it a pull. Like I'll pinch it, give it like a little bit of a pull. It kind of flattens it out a little bit. And then I repoint it with my mouth. Some people lick their brush and they'll call it like void blending. And that's a different category of brush liquor where you'll be painting on the model and then you'll remove the paint with your mouth. And then with less, now you basically have no or less paint on the brush. You'll use the kind of clean brush to pull and push around the paint you already applied to the model and kind of create blending or feathering. I use my mouth to repoint the brush. So I'm not sitting here like cleaning it with my mouth. I'm just trying to repoint it. But you could do it with the creases in your hand there. So you go right there and you see that crease. You could crease it right there and repoint it. You don't want to twist it. Like you don't want to sit there and I don't know if you can tell, but like spin it because that creates a barber pole effect of the hairs, which means they're going to look like they're pointed, but when they're dry and stuff, they're going to unravel and they're going to twist out. If the tip's getting messed up, there's a few things you might be letting the tip hit the bottom of your water cup instead of just swishing it kind of in the water. Don't run it along the bottom of the cup. Another thing, it's just as we paint miniatures, like if you look, it's so hard to see on this setup. I really need to figure this out. Anyway, he's got all kinds of little nooks and crannies and body parts and stuff. And if you are putting paint into those areas, if you're really stabbing it in there, and you don't have to be doing it that hard, it's really bad for the brush. Paint brushes are all designed to pull paint. That's just how it works. I don't even know if it's how they design it. It's just how they work. right? They're pulling paint, not pushing paint. But when you're doing little miniatures, a lot of them have little nooks and crannies, and you want to push paint into those little areas, and that can damage the tip. If you don't want to lick it, you could, I don't know if you can see that. So I flattened it. I pinched it like that. And you see it's pointy there and then flat there. And then you can kind of softly do that on the other side. Just kind of give it a little turn, little turn, little turn. All I'm doing is repointing it, and I got pretty good point on it. And then another, I mean, just if you give your hand a fold, a lot of these little creases you can use as a little guide to pull your paintbrush through to repoint it. You're still gonna use the paintbrush to paint in those small areas, but just be aware that you don't want to like stab into it. So when you're working on those areas, just be soft. You know, you don't, if any, at any opportunity, you can pull paint instead of push paint, that's better. But yeah, in those little areas, just make sure you use a soft brush pressure. Or try to get those areas in the beginning with your airbrush if you have one, or if you're using like contrast paints, obviously they're going to do a good job settling in those areas. If you're another way, which is also really good, get those areas in the beginning and just use an older beat up brush. And that way you're not so worried about the damage to the brush. And then you'll kind of refine to your sharper, smaller, better brushes as the project goes on. And it's not like you can't put the brush in that area, but it's just one of those things that it's worth knowing. If you're trying to get paint in a little area, you know, you can just touch the brush to the area and the paint will be left on that area without stabbing it into it, if that makes sense. This little monster is pretty weird. This is a monster here for Deep Madness. One thing too, yeah, like, you know, eventually the tip will likely change over time. The goal though is to, you know, make it last longer, or as it changes, it's not as severe. A natural hairbrush can hold its tip longer than a synthetic hairbrush. And if you're using a natural hairbrush, I would even recommend just saving those for kind of the last, you know, 5 to maybe 25% of the painting, and use maybe more affordable brushes for the majority of it. Unless you're trying to blend out every little thing for a Golden Demon Award or something. That's good. You get to work from home instead of just not working. I lived in Vegas for a while, and a lot of people I know in the nightclub industry are now in the unemployment industry, which is pretty sad to see, as everything's pretty much closed down. Yeah, so another possibility, which I'll show you here in 1 second. Just something to be aware of. And this brush that I'm using right now is kind of beat up. It's been up. Sometimes I use the bigger of like the ghost brushes, or before I had them, just any brush, I use the bigger one to kind of push paint around, damage the brush a little bit. You know, it doesn't matter. I actually have a little bit, I have an abundance of riches in a sense now that I have unlimited paintbrushes, kinda, but I still try to take care of them. Even though I could switch to new ones very often, I'll battle with the same beat up ones I've used over and over again until they're truly downgraded to terrain or something, or basing. I'll show you another thing, right? Just trying to make sure nothing's too... Basically, I wasted a whole bunch of time putting contrast paint on this thing and then orange ink, and I was trying to create this blue-orange thing, and it didn't work. So now I'm kind of repainting it with Bugman's Glow to give it more of a fleshy tone. So let me show you. It should work on this brush if we can do it on this. Maybe I'll hold up a napkin. Maybe that'll make it a little more easy. All right. So yeah, I guess it's a little easier because of the darkness of my bristles. This was a white brush. Obviously, it got really, really stained. But if you notice down here in the ferrule, if paint gets down there and dries, which it has on this one, but it's not affecting it too much, although it could. If you squeeze the bottom of your brush, see how it's split? That was from squeezing down here. And that's what's going to happen if you keep getting paint in your ferrule. It builds up pressure down there, and it's causing that squeeze, and that's what splits the tip. Now, there's a possibility you got a bad brush and there's some glue from the paintbrush in there, and that's what I spend most of my workday looking for when I'm quality controlling the ghost brushes for my Kickstarter backers or eBay sales, is I'm checking that the paint, that those hairs aren't going to split from the building process of the brush. And then as long as you can avoid, to the best of your ability, getting paint down there, it helps keep the tip. Yeah, so that's a good practice. Obviously, that's why, like, if I'm going to dunk it into like a contrast paint, I don't know if you're playing around with those, I'll go to like an older GW wash brush, and this thing's really beat up. This is like a GW shade brush that I've just had a long time. As this brush here gets beat up, it will become more and more like for washes and contrast paints and things like that. And then I'll use, so say if you had the set of like the 8 ghost brushes, maybe the size 6 will be your wash, your contrast paint type brush. Size 5 could be kind of your large detail brush. And then maybe like the 3, 4 areas, what you do the majority of your painting with. And then you kind of work your way down for smaller details. So as long as if you designate maybe a brush or so to be for the more harsh kind of duties, that definitely can help extend the life of the overall team of paintbrushes. And another good thing to remember too, you can keep washing your brush. Like, you could paint a little bit, maybe you're gonna sit there and let it dry for a second. Just swish your brush in water. As long as you keep swishing it, keeping it wet, it'll be it'll be less likely that paint dries down there. Nice. I got some Army Painter. I was using I really like all the Army Painter washes, the strong tone and dark tone. They're all really good. I got a lot of pinks and purple Army Painter colors, and then I was using this Barbarian Flesh the other day. Sometimes they're really like transparent for me. I don't know if I'm not getting them shooken up enough, but a lot of times I'll use the lighter Army Painter colors to mix with some of the darker colors that I have to now kind of thin them out plus lighten them up. Just kind of something fun to do. I think this guy's ready for a wash. He is a mess. So I think we might hit him with I don't know. Maybe we'll use the homemade wash. I made this one. Wow, this one's kind of green though. And we'll do it anyway. This is just a pot of wash I made, mixing some other ones for a specific kind of neutral yellow, green, brown, dark color. And I just poured it in this little pot that I had, and it stayed, which is really cool. I didn't know I could do that. I'd never done it before, but I have a few of these little pots. So now when I make my own washes for a certain project, I'm going to pour the leftovers into those little pots. So I'm switching to this beat up brush for this because I'm really going to be drenching this model in this dirty wash. And it is weird looking, but that's okay. He's a crazy monster anyway. What are you going to play after you switch from Eldar? Or are you just more of a hobbyer and a painter and you don't play? Or you haven't played yet? Right now I got my AdMech mostly fully painted. A ton of it is fully painted, but I do have some newer units that I could add and get painted for the army. But like I said, I want to be working on some Eldar stuff because I have too much to just be sitting around doing nothing with, taking up space. All right, so it turns out my plan of putting blue contrast paint and orange ink on this model to create a unique flesh tone and shadow tone did not work at all. And I basically covered it with Bugman's Glow, and now I'm doing a wash, which I could have just done from the very beginning. But I was trying to create something new, and it did not work. Not new like it's never been done before, but new like I haven't tried it on a monster. Yeah, I'm kind of both. I try now to get painted, or at least as long as I'm actively working on the army, I'll play it if it's not fully painted. As long as I know that I'm, putting an effort on that army. And then also it helps me maybe stay motivated. Like, oh, I'm playing this, every weekend, so I should keep working on it. But I've had a hard time getting into playing a ton of 40K again. I'll play it for a couple weeks, and then we just kind of switch to like board games and stuff. And then after a while, we jump back in and play it some more, and then we kind of switch to. Right now, we've been playing Gaslands. Well, right now we're playing nothing. So everything's closed. All right, well, he's a weird monster with a weird wash. And even on this beat up brush, right, you can hear me swishing it around. One thing that made me actually want to start working on the Eldar again and painting is I kind of want to paint up an army to try to win best painted at like events. So on the occasional time that I do play in like a 40K tournament, I usually do like to try to win best painted, and my AdMech have won before, and you get some store credit, which is cool if your store provides prizes for that sort of thing. And but I've played it a lot of people have seen it a lot of times, so trying to work on something new. And the Eldar and the AdMech, they look cool, but if I try really hard on the Eldar, maybe I could make them even better. And one thing that I thought would be motivating with the Eldar is they have so many different types of units. My plan is that I'm not going to keep the same color scheme throughout the whole army. Like, 20 Guardians will be this color, 20 will be this color, 20, that sort of thing. They'll all be metallic, though, with all these new color shift metallics and scale model metallics and stuff. And then plus you got all these aspect warriors. So, I'm working on blue Dire Avengers, and then next I could paint a unit of orange Fire Dragons, and then, teal Swooping Hawks or whatever. And then say 30 Swooping Hawks, 10 will be teal, 10 might be yellow, 10 might be, gold or whatever. I guess gold and yellow is kind of the same. But basically the units will be color coordinated just within themselves. So I don't really mix like Craft World rules when I play like some people, where they'll have like a detachment of Ulthwé and a detachment of Iyanden or whatever. So it would be difficult to do that, as all the army's going to look kind of scattered, but they'll all be based the same, and they'll all actually be heavily, they'll all be metallics. And the thing I'm interested in is I want to see how all these metallics work once I've dull coated it all down. So I'm hoping that it looks, is it metallic? Is it not metallic? What's going on here kind of feel when you stop and look at the army. Like, is that gold or non-metallic gold? I see the sheen of a metallic paint, but it's not glossy because, I use the AK Ultramat. So hopefully it works out. I kind of got scared and stopped working on the Dire Avengers because they look pretty cool. I was afraid to spray them. So I did like a little test Guardian here. It's impossible to see, obviously, but he is all metallic blue and then matte coated. So gives it just a, I don't know, kind of a cool look. Also, with the Eldar, I'm going to be using a lot of oil washes. And I have a ton of oil paint. I used to oil paint. I went to college for it for a little bit. And I'm really, really interested in using like more oil washes and stuff on my models. So I haven't actually got any of the green stuff ones. I got a box. I think I just got one box. Maybe I got two. I can't remember now. I got the Vallejo ones, a box of them. And I got the Turbo Dark. I got some of them. And not all color shift. And I don't want just, sprayed metallic and it's got the color shift. So, it's good. My hope is that when I do the color shift and then matte coat it all down, that something really unique and interesting happens with the oil washes and the matte coat and all that. Then I have all the scale metallic sets. So these are all like coppers and golds. They have like silvers and blues. These are also, so it's not even open yet. Oh, this is the gold series. But yeah, so I got these 3 sets for scale color. And a bunch of Turbo Dork, some of the Vallejo ones. So I'm not totally looking for the color shift effect. And Vallejo, I think, has like 4 sets now of the different color shift type paints. I don't know if I would order from Green Stuff World, just because I could buy the Vallejo ones from the local store and support them. Or Turbo Dork has a ton of metallics and colored metallics. And I only own about 8 of them. Probably 8 Turbo Dork paints. So there's probably 22 more I could buy just from them. Plus the unique ability of like airbrushing, zenithal, a dark red metallic with an orange color shift zenithal metallic from above, and so many infinite combinations. And then that'd be before we even start adding oil washes and stuff. Plus I picked up a bunch of these. The Citadel Air clear line. So I got the red, the purple. I got green and blue. And then I got Death Shroud clear black, which I really like. So I'm going to play with those. I got quite a few of the contrast paints now. And basically, yeah, just trying to create unique, kind of interesting tones and variations in tones. And then I'm hoping with the Eldars, one thing that's with Eldar is when you're talking about painting them to try to win like a best painted competition, or bring them to a tournament and compete for best painted, I think it means I have to paint all the gemstones, and they have so many gemstones on them. And the only way to make that probably really striking is to actually paint them with the little shadow and highlight and the white dot, instead of using like gemstone paint or contrast over silver or whatever. So that's about where the Dire Avengers are now, like a little bit more on their hair and maybe their weapon, but I'm kind of at that point where I got to base them and do so many gemstones. Also with the basing of the Dire Avengers, they're the first unit for the Eldar army, and I'm saying I have tons. I bought 3 people's Eldar armies, plus I had my own, plus I bought more. And so I have to kind of decide on the basing style, and it's kind of intimidating when you're like, all right, here's my first unit. Hopefully I picked the right choice, because I'm going to have to repeat it over and over again for 1,000 models. And of course, that's assuming they all get painted at some point. Who knows, what I might end up doing is just paint 10 of each aspect warrior and selling all the extra. Instead of having a 5,000 points of Eldar, maybe I'll paint up 3,000 points and sell all the rest. Or box it up and put it away. But, that's all down the road. Who even knows when I'll get to that. I think what we might do now, maybe paint the shoelaces on the Rumble Slam guys. Yeah, especially with Horde armies. The only reason in my mind I think I can do the Eldar is hopefully because I can switch the color scheme. Or, I plan to switch the color scheme over and over again. Yeah, I don't think I could do, the AdMech. I have them all painted up in the kind of same scheme. And, it was a cool project when it was done, but I don't know if I could add a unit here and there, but I don't know if I have it in me to ever paint a whole army again. A little bug has found its way onto the lake behind me. Hey, we're using burnt. Oh, I can't. No, I can't actually see this. Maybe here's better. Ooh, now I can see too well. Now I see all the mistakes. Oh, that's a bummer. Painting their little shoelaces burnt red. From Vallejo. I don't know if I love it. Yeah, usually how I feel, basing is a good way to compete for best painted. Cool bases, spend a little extra time on the bases, especially because your whole army is going to be on bases. So it really can be striking. And then when you highlight, it's like that second and third highlight that really make the difference. So maybe don't do it on all the models right away. But it's when you take that extra time to put one more level of brightness onto the skin tone of the face or whatever. And I've won a few awards painting, but it's not like, prestigious, super big awards. I won best painted at a few local tournaments, and my Necromunda team won best painted at Adepticon in the event there, but it's not like there was hundreds of people playing or nothing. So one thing I really do actually like about competing for best painted at an event is actually most people there aren't even competing for it. So if you're, all you got to do is try extra hard. And you might actually get a little bit of extra, prize money or store credit. Oh, my neck is bothering me trying to focus. I can't get good enough lighting how I'm sitting. I'm really burning my eyeballs trying to see these shoelaces. Which means I'm holding my breath and straining my necks for some reason. Alrighty. Yeah, I have this idea. Oh, this guy's got tiny feet. These two they're like little tiny models. They have really tiny feet. So I have an idea that I also might try with the Eldar, where this is kind of a strategy for winning, say, best painted at an event, or a strategy for having a really, really nicely painted army eventually, is kind of get your army done, speed paint, whatever. Then when you have like an event coming up, if you have an event coming up, get your army list ready. So say you have your Tyranids, you want to play your Tyranids in a 2,000 point event. Make your army list and then work a little bit more on the units in that army list. So, the week or so before the event, maybe that's just when all you do is highlight the faces of 30 Hormagaunts. And then let's say in another 6 months, you play your Tyranids again. And now in that army list, you have 4 Carnifexes. Maybe you put a little extra effort into the Carnifexes now. Now, I've never done this, but I do feel like it's not a bad idea. It's been on my mind quite a bit. What I'm going to do is add this Amaranth Red, which is like an orange, just to my little plastic palette. And I'm going to mix it in with the Vallejo Burnt Red to create the highlight. Now I think I'm going to have to switch to a finer ghost brush that's not as beat up as those. So I'm going to switch this little ghost brush here. Oh, I forgot I haven't done the... Darn it. Hold on. Let's see with maybe this little brush I can get these little guys' shoes. But yeah, I think that strategy, although it's going to be hard to actually follow through with, and it's really a long, well, part of what makes it so hard is it's a long-term strategy. I think if you really had an army you loved, if you really had an army you loved, say you only played Tyranids or Eldar or whatever, over time you would have such a nice looking army. It's like when you've gone back and put the third highlight on your Farseer, all of a sudden he's really going to start to pop. Here's an example. I was still painting with the same brush. I just rinsed it off just because I felt like the paint had been on there too long. And I wanted to re-wet the brush and make sure I'm not risking paint drying in the ferrule. Now it's something more of just a feel. I could just tell the hairs were acting a little weird. I gotta actually lean over here so that light can light this for these little shoes. Oh, okay, that's not bright enough. I want... One way to get a little bit more out of a speed paint for this kind of something, board game miniatures or something you're trying to finish, is just jump your highlight up a little bit more. Instead of doing a really nice, good looking, slow build, do small, drastic highlights. And not so drastic that it's crazy looking, but these Rumble Slam models are a little loose. They have really good muscle definition, but sometimes they're a little weak on the details of the costume. Hey, take care. Have fun at work. It's about 4:30 in the morning here, so I guess it's probably about my time to go to bed. Maybe that's why I can't see right now. Thanks for hanging out. See you in the comment section of the videos. Stay safe from the virus. I'm going to bust out the wet palette here, just in my lap. Just because I noticed a really bad spot of green paint. I think I noticed it. All right. See if we can't fix that. Cool. And it is about, well, yeah, 1:24. I think we'll go about 6 more minutes. And then call it a night. And we will be just left with I'm really I'm not being very accurate with my brush right now. Yeah, we got just to finish up the face mask. On these clowns. I honestly thought I would be done with them today. But I worked on that little monster a little bit. I worked on the Gaslands car. So we definitely got a little bit more done tonight than just watching YouTube, which is always good. Which was the goal of turning on the stream in the first place, was to force myself to get some paint on. Probably could have been a little more effective. All right, once we get their little face mask done, maybe the big guy's hair and socks still. And I think they're done. Then we get to find out the joy of spraying them with AK Ultra Flat, which is always fun because you never know what's going to happen, but they always look better. Also, I really need to finish this earlier in the day. It's not exactly great to be chugging liters of liquid before you go to bed. Oh well. I got a little bit of plans for this guy. He's gonna look cool. Yeah, we got one more minute. I don't know if anybody's left in the chat. If you are, thank you for hanging out. If you've made it this far, we had a long night of chit-chatting, hobbying, and painting. If you like just something real mellow in the background while you paint, maybe give this a listen to, or something like this a listen to while you're working on yours, even if you didn't make it for the live chat. Shout out to the Patreons. I know things could be getting really hard for people financially, so big thank you. You are doing the Lord's work. And I still got one Patreon patron at a high tier, so I'll have to send him a reward. And maybe a little gift box or something. Maybe some nostalgia. I don't know. So that's it for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of freestyle paint and hangout situation. And I'll see you tomorrow or soon.